The Full Circle Podcast. Compelling interviews and incredible tales from Colorado's western slope, from the mountains to the desert. Christi Reese and her team hear from the movers, shakers, and characters of the Grand Valley and surrounding mountain towns that make the western slope the place we all love. You'll learn, you'll laugh, you'll love with The Full Circle. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Christi Reese, and welcome back to the Full Circle Podcast. Today, I'm really delighted to have an old friend of mine, someone that I worked with for a long time, where we're going to talk about building techniques toward net zero and all kinds of construction-related items here on our podcast. So welcome, Ryan Cowan of RG Cowan Design Build.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Ryan, we did our first project together, I believe, on my second house in Grand Junction over on Chipeta.
Yep.
You did a big project for us. So give us a little history on your background in construction.
My dad was a home builder in Fort Wayne, Indiana, so I grew up around building. I was a kid back then, but still kind of the process of building sunk in.
And what kind of houses was he building there?
He was building kind of I'd call it a semi-custom home. You know, he wasn't a track home builder. He built probably 5 to 7 houses a year, and drew everyone himself for all of his clients.
Nice.
And that kind of thing, yeah.
And so, you grew up in the industry. You're on the job site frequently?
When I was a kid, I swept houses. That was about as far as it got back then. I started for a remodeling company right out of high school in Wisconsin. I lived in Wisconsin at the time, and most of my early career was doing remodeling and kind of fixing old houses and seeing what was wrong in all these older homes. Yeah,
and you're not afraid of the older homes. I think that there can be just a variety of things that come up when you start tearing into things, right?
Yeah, and I think one of my realizations over time with older homes is that it's really good problem solving. It's a fun process to figure out how to solve for and improve an older home. But you always get stuck with all the things you just can't do. You just can't fix everything. And so you always end up with something that's always going to have some things that are never fully addressed, which is always the downside of a remodel. Yeah.
So you've done a lot of remodeling jobs around the Grand Valley. When did you move to Grand Junction?
I moved to Grand Junction from Gunnison Crested Butte in 2003, I believe. Yeah.
And just started a remodeling company here and went out pounding the pavement?
Yeah, well, a little by default. I had some friends that wanted a kitchen remodel, and I was moving to town, and so I started there. And I think, doing good work, you end up with the referral business just kind of started and kind of kept me going. I didn't do any marketing for 10 years. It's just kind of word of mouth and getting going, yeah.
And your dad, did he come out and visit you here when you got started in Grand Junction and give you some advice?
A little bit. My dad wasn't big on advice, but he did. He came out and saw what we were doing. He always liked to see what kind of projects we were working on. He'd give me all his bidding sheets and things to help me figure out, how do you even learn how to price out a project, all that kind of stuff early on. Yeah.
Nice. And so when did you start building custom homes?
Our first custom home was in 2008, right when the recession started. I got a little bit lucky. I had somebody, we designed a home and had just poured the foundation when the bottom kind of fell out. And so he was committed. He even told me, if we hadn't poured this foundation, I would have probably pulled the plug on this. So, that kind of was a godsend. It allowed me to set up to go back to school. I went back to the school during the recession, but I had a year to plan it because we had a pretty big custom home that just broke ground. Yeah.
Was that the one up in Glade Park?
Yep, it was in Glade Park. Yep.
Yeah. And so you liked or weren't afraid of working on old homes. I know you did a lot in downtown Grand Junction. How do you describe your style and like what kind of construction you started to focus on and be interested in?
Well, I mean, over time and through I've always had an interest in, kind of energy efficient building techniques and building science. And I think it's something I love to talk about and geek out on all day. But I think going back to school for design really helped me also kind of elevate my thinking about what it is that we do. And, you know, that kind of was a godsend. You know, it allowed me to set up to go back to school. That's I went back to the school during the recession, but I had a year to plan it because we had a pretty big custom home that just broke ground. And so he was committed. He even told me, if we hadn't poured the foundation, I would have probably pulled the plug on this. So, you know, that kind of was a I have a lot of experience in remodeling, but as we still do quite a bit of remodeling, but my passion is definitely in new construction and what we can achieve in a new construction product, So, our company now, we focus on building, thoughtful, highly considered, architecturally significant homes for design-minded clients. We really feel that by building homes that are durable and energy efficient and based in quality, we can provide homes that are healthy, reliable, and lasting. And this is not only to give our clients peace of mind, but also an energy independent, low maintenance home that they can count on for its lifetime. And I think that's all that kind of description of what we do is there's kind of a lot packed in there for us, and how we approach our process of design and construction and methods and everything.
So you have a team that you do everything from the beginning to the end.
Yes.
You design, but people can also come to you with another designer's work. Is that correct? Or
yeah, and I think probably more recently, we've done a lot more of that. Like, I think we've had several clients that came with an architect, and they always start with that question, like, can I bring my own design? And the answer is yes. We go into a pre-construction contract on those, and we try to figure out where we can provide some guidance if the design's already done to improve the performance of the home. And hopefully it's still in the design process that we can offer some guidance there.
What do you think are the biggest misconceptions or fallacies that people have about energy efficient homes? I mean, Energy Star is a big word that I think a lot of people know, but I've seen a lot of builders build to the Energy Star standards, but not necessarily get the certification. But talk about that and maybe some other things that you think maybe the public doesn't understand about energy efficient homes.
Well, I think one thing that we end up talking a lot about when we start talking about performance of the home, energy efficiency, people start thinking about payback. And it's not something we talk a lot about because it's a really complicated thing to tell people, like, what is this ROI? But for us, it comes back to comfort in the home, quality of the home, durability of the home. I think when you design and build a home that's an integrated system, everything is kind of thought to be working together as instead of a bunch of parts that are just kind of thrown in. It creates energy efficiency, of course, but also more durability and comfort. And another big one for us that kind of starts at the site and the way we design is, we like to provide homes that people feel like they're living in a landscape, not in a box, And I think there's a lot of homes that they do get to feeling a little bit like they're, beautiful in their own way, but they're also a little bit like living in a box. And we try to break that box as much as we can and use products that are going to still, even though we like to use lots of glazing, we want it to still be energy efficient and quality.
I like what you said about, living with the environment. Being a realtor here in town, I've seen over and over again, you walk into a house and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did this. They didn't take advantage of the views, or they turned the house the wrong way, or they made the house feel like it was sitting on top of the land instead of integrating with the land. And that can be anything from materials to colors to design, right?
Right.
How do you approach that integration?
Well, we prefer to be involved in design. I think that's where our passion lies, is starting from the beginning and helping to make those decisions. Visiting the site before we ever draw a line on paper is super important to us. You can't really know and understand the opportunities that are there, if you're not there to experience them, and then trying to pull that experience into a home and through a home and integrate that with people's lifestyles. I think there's so many things that kind of start to play together, and it's so common in home building for clients to pick a floor plan, which is not where I want to live. I do have clients come with floor plans, but I try to use that as a guide to what, something they like about that.
Right. Exactly. What are some 3 of the things that you like about this plan? And let's maybe start over. Keeping that in mind.
Take those and then, okay, now what about this place you want to build? That starts to change the conversation and integrate those things that they love about that plan back into a solution.
You built a number of homes up in Glade Park. It must be a wonderful place to build and try to fit into the landscape up there.
Yeah, it's probably the most fun to have is when you're not limited. Like, subdivision building can be challenging because you're constrained a lot. You don't have the freedom to orient and you have, if you open up the house to the wrong side, you're just seeing your neighbors and things like that. So it's fun to just have the landscape to work with.
Put the bathroom wherever you want it, right?
That's right. The outdoor shower, whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So that's we love that. Building on smaller sites and with more constraints it's a different challenge, but and you can find fun solutions for that too. But the Glade Park type environments are a lot of fun to work with.
I bet they are, yeah. I think that one of my favorite projects that you've done is the house out in Fruita.
Yes.
That's in downtown Fruita, really modern, and I just love the style inside and out. You've let me take a peek at the inside, and I'm like, Ryan, we need to build more of these. It's such a beautiful home.
Well, thank you.
Can you talk about the aesthetics of that property?
That design came from the desires of the client, some of my own, some of hers. She wanted something really modern and clean and, durable, and she wanted low maintenance, and she just really loved a modern home. So that project evolved. There was a remodel component to it that as we got into it, the way the soils were on the site, we couldn't save the part of the home we originally wanted to. So it ended up going away and becoming a full new build, which of course opened up opportunities to, use a lot of our standards to make it more energy efficient as well.
When you talk about the durability of a home and someone comes to you and says that's important to them, what kind of materials are you talking about?
Now you're asking me to geek out on building science a little bit.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, it's thinking about control of the control layers of a home. Are a big piece of where it comes from. We trying to deal with water first, and our climate is pretty dry, and a lot of people take that for granted. But when it does rain, it rains hard and it rains a lot, and so we have you see a lot of rot and mold in some of the houses here in the valley as you pull them apart.
If the water management is not paid attention to, it can cause real problems. Right.
Yeah. Once water gets in, it's in there and it's going to cause an issue. So that's a big one for us. Probably number one, making sure that water's dealt with well. And then our air sealing, for energy efficiency, we try to reach a passive house level of air sealing, in our projects, which is, a 0.6 ACH50, which is how they measure that with a blower door test. But it's the code here now is up to a 3, so we're aiming for quite a bit better than code on that. And then you still got to deal with vapor, and you still got to deal with good thermal systems to insulate the house. And all that working together with the right systems in place can make a very long-lasting, durable structure that's really efficient.
If I remember correctly, that house has some concrete, plywood?
So on the finishes side, we did a lot of, she loved Baltic birch plywood, so we did custom door jambs. They're all Baltic birch, with a reglet detail around the edge. And
I don't know what that is. You might have to explain.
The reglets are, a lot of people call them a shadow line. So it's a drywall trim you can buy that creates a nice little shadow line around all of your doors and windows and things like that. So everything was Baltic birch. The cabinets were custom, and they were Baltic birch from a company we work with out of Iowa, Gosling Woodworking. Did a great job on our cabinets there. And then we did the concrete countertops in our own workshops. Yeah.
And you have a workshop here and you did these coasters for us a few years back.
That's right.
So you've done some metal work, you've done concrete work. What other kind of things can you do in your shop?
Our shop is primarily focused on GFRC concrete countertops and fireplace surrounds and panels. We do custom steel as well. A lot of our steel railings we weld ourselves in our own workshops. We've been doing quite a bit of decorative steel fireplace panels for some builders in the Roaring Fork Valley that do quite a bit of that. We don't do a lot of custom woodworking in our shops. Usually we'll work with a cabinet maker or somebody that has better equipment to do that every day.
And typically local cabinet makers or around Colorado or all over?
Yeah, our main cabinet maker is out of Iowa. If we're doing a full kitchen or something, we have a couple of box cabinet lines that we can also sell, like a semi-custom line. But if we're looking for custom woodwork that's smaller pieces, a lot of those we will do are in-house. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the Towards Net Zero building, TNZ.
Yeah.
Can you explain to our listeners and viewers what that is?
Yeah. So, that the tricky thing about building efficiently is there's so many ways to get there. You can start with a pretty standard house and you just start tweaking things to increase levels of performance of the home. Some of them cost next to nothing and some of them get really expensive. And so our Towards Net Zero was kind of a question of how do we get there with our houses, for different clients. So if we said, we're passive house builders and that's all we're going to do, everything's net zero, you're just going to limit yourself and limit making houses better for lots of different types of clients with different budgets. So for us, it's a way of tuning projects. We have some standards we try to implement, but we can tweak those around. A great example is our zip system sheathing. We use that a lot. It's partly because it's a great product that's easy to use and easy to get right. There's a lot of products that are not easy to get right. But that product, as an example, you can buy it with foam included, and so you can increase the thicknesses of foam on the exterior of your house to get more outboard insulation and things like that. Window products, we try to go to a triple pane window. We've got a brand that we've used on a couple projects now that is relatively affordable for what it is. It's made in Louisville, Colorado. They're called Alpen windows, and we really like those. And I think other than that, it's, you take all that together and you try to also implement better systems in the home for comfort and health and all those kinds of things.
And how does solar tie into your designs?
Yeah, we try to think through where solar's going to go in design. So we always want a roof that's properly shaped and directed for solar. I think that's something that you see a lot when it's a retrofit on houses with a few solar panels facing this way and that way. Yeah. And, there's not an optimal efficiency going on there. So we try to create a space for it. And if the client can't afford it when the house is built, we just prepare for it, with conduits to be able to wire it in the future. Yeah.
Now, there is a trend, especially in some of the larger cities, in going all electric. And your houses that toward net zero would be all electric, correct?
Yeah, that's right. The Aspen house on Aspen in Fruita was not all electric, it has gas. But I think every house that we've built since then, I believe, is all electric, which I think is another reason to improve the energy and performance. All electric homes have an electric backup heat that if the house isn't super energy efficient, then that heat mat's going to kick in, and then you're going to get a lot of auxiliary heat from that. Your heat pumps aren't going to keep up. So, in order to have that house be, not cost a lot of money to be all electric, I think you've got to have a really great house.
I think a lot of people in Western Colorado kind of stress about thinking, I love my natural gas. Can you talk about the benefits, the pros and cons of natural gas versus all electric?
I think that in some sites, it's just cheaper to do all electric. You know, in Glade Park, for example, that means, avoiding propane altogether.
Right.
So some of our projects are all electric as almost a cost savings measure when you're building. We've had really good luck with performance on those. We haven't had a lot of people having issues with the systems and how they perform. And the efficiency ratings are pretty incredible. So for me, it's a little bit getting ahead of the game. Eventually, they're all going to have to be electric, and knowing how to do it well, I think is how we're going to win on that deal. I think where there's a lot of builders, I think that were building great homes, but struggled a little bit when the new standards came out for energy efficiency.
What year was that?
That was, they started in February of 23, I think, is when they started to push some new standards. And I think there's been a couple more that have rolled out over the last year. And I think that there'll be another challenge when everything has to be all electric, because you're going to possibly have unhappy clients when everything goes to all electric and the house isn't quite built to a performance standard that's going to be cheap to run that. Yeah.
Do you have any wisdom as to when do you see that happening? I mean, how long in the future are we talking?
That I don't know. I mean, every you hear dates and then they get pushed back because there's pushback, right? Nobody wants to change things and change the way that we build, especially when the way you do it now is dependable. I mean, there's a lot to that. You don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, and then when you do, there's challenges, right? Something doesn't work like it's supposed to or whatever. So, but it's inevitable, I think, as we move away from the fossil fuel type of economies and move towards a more sustainable solutions.
What are some of the new techniques, new materials that you're excited about these days? Is there something new and great that just...
Well, I think window products have come a long way. Yeah. And there's just more options out there that are more affordable than it used to be to get, an elevated product. Like I mentioned, the zip system, and there's probably lots of competition going to come out to make that drive costs down on that product a little bit. But I think and the liquid seals, trying to get a house airtight is really challenging. So some of it comes with how we design them to make it achievable, and some of it's about the products. So we've got some liquid flash products we use that make very tight air sealing pretty simple.
I was reading about some of the building techniques and talking about the ability to, you've got a really tight house without air leakage, but it is okay to open the windows, right? It's not like you have to just have it sealed up all the time, but that's when it's most efficient.
Yeah, it's when it's most efficient, and it's when it's probably the cleanest indoor air, because you can filter everything. It just depends on where you're at. On Glade Park, there's lots of wind, and there's certainly those beautiful spring days when you want to open your windows up, and then the wind kicks up and that dust is rolling in. So I think there's times when people will leave the house closed up because they can control everything, and they're still getting fresh air from their energy recovery ventilators and systems.
And how is our air? I mean, if you have a client that's super concerned about air quality, you must have looked at the historical record here and for down in the valley and up in Glade Park. Is our air better than most places around? I mean, maybe the mountain towns have a little bit cleaner air than we do, but... Yeah,
and I think, dust. I mean, we live in the desert. I mean, every day that there's wind, you can see it when the sun's going down. Like there's this kind of dust in the air that you don't see in the middle of the day, but it's there. I do think we just live in a slightly dirtier climate in terms of what's there if the wind's blowing. On a calm day, it's probably pretty clean here. Yeah.
But lots of people have sensitivities to those kind of things. I know where I'm from in Lake City, a lot of people just can't deal with the dirt roads because it produces so much dust all the time. So do you have a lot of people requesting that kind of indoor air quality that's really important to them?
Generally, no, we don't have a lot of people specific to that, but I think we do have people that have some special sensitivities to sometimes it's products, so we try to have to think through a little more what we're putting in the home when we're finishing it, for cabinetry and flooring and all of the things that do off gas. It's real tough to buy something that's going to fit a budget that doesn't also have some downsides to it. So that's something that we often think about.
Like all the products are out there that you could imagine, right? But some of them have a really big price tag. Yeah,
I mean, there's lots of real healthy products, but you can 2 or 3x your cost sometimes, which, if you're trying to, balance budgets through a whole project, that gets a little challenging.
So what's your goal, Ryan, for building new construction in the Grand Valley? Obviously you can't change the whole industry by yourself, but I know you'd like to see more of this construction happening. How many houses would you like to be building every year?
I think our sweet spot's probably, 3 to 4 custom homes. We do hope to do a parade home in the future. And, it's a little challenging for us because we want to build something that's elevated, that's, the kind of product that we want to use it as a learning tool for people as well, to say, hey, this is how we build our homes and this is why. And these are the outcomes. And, inevitably it comes at a little bit higher price tag because you're buying more expensive materials. Primarily a lot of the methods that go into the process in terms of labor aren't that different. It's sometimes you're just installing a more expensive product along the way.
And in remodeling, I guess it depends a lot on the age of the home and how far you can go with those kind of techniques and materials, right?
Yeah, and I think it probably comes to a little bit that scope of work for a project too. If someone wanted to strip all the siding off their home and, re-side from scratch, that's an easier project to try to maybe do a better product on the exterior to bring up the energy efficiency versus just trying to air seal by caulking or some other method that is real tough to do a great job and really make a big impact.
Wow. How many houses are you building right now? And what's next for you?
Right now we've been doing probably 3 projects at a time. We've had one custom home in construction pretty consistently over the last few years with other smaller projects mixed in. We're still doing some remodels, and we like those because it allows us to plug them into our schedule and help keep a balanced workflow. Coming up, we're just starting framing on another custom up in Glade Park. It's going to be more of a mountain style home than the last couple have been fairly modern, so that'll be kind of fun. A lot of timber work and more of a craftsman kind of feel to it. Yeah.
And who's on your team these days? I know you have a new team member.
Yes, we do.
One of my favorite people.
Yes, we have Suzanne Hansel as our new COO, and we're very excited to have her on board. And she's brings a lot of traction to our vision, and in terms of seeing where we want to go and trying to get the team all going in the same direction. We have Miranda, who is our financial coordinator. She does a great job on all of the billing side and the books and the invoicing and keeping our finances in order. And Piper is our marketing coordinator, and she does all of our social media and keeps our marketing on track. Awesome. Have a shop manager, Tim, and lead carpenter currently. His name is Todd.
Okay. Yeah. And you are on site all the time, right? When you're building, I mean, I know that there's lots of different ways you can run a job site, but you're heavily involved.
Yeah, Not as involved as I used to be.
Yeah.
We'll be hiring for another project coordinator at some time this next year. But I have been on site quite a bit to just make sure our subcontractors are, everything's clear what we're looking for. We have cut back on our own in-house labor just a little bit, and we're trying to work a little more with sub-trades to keep us from having to have 4 or 5 carpenters on staff all the time.
A lot of the questions that we get from people that think they might want to build a custom home is, how much is it going to cost, and how available are the builders, and do you have good subs? What would you say is the current state of the building industry in our county, and then how have you stayed kind of insular and kind of done your own thing? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but are you able to insulate yourself from the ups and downs of the market?
Well, I would say probably not. I don't know. Like, it's custom building, where we're, people are coming to us for a little bit of a unique product, I think. And we've had a pretty good flow of that. On the client side, on the trade side, that's a little tougher question. It's gotten easier this year. Good. I do think the pressure on the trades is easing up a little bit. I'm seeing more subcontractors reach out, seeing if we have anything coming up. That didn't happen for several years, where somebody
really
was
tight,
actually looking for work. So it's nice to see that there's some people looking. It means scheduling might get a little bit better, and things could move a little faster sometimes. On the demand side, I just haven't seen the idea of a recession right now possibly looming. It doesn't feel like it's there. We still have pretty good lead flow, and it's trying to find the right clients, right projects for us, right?
And what about material costs? How have those changed in the last couple of years?
Well, obviously during COVID, everything was very volatile, and that was a challenge for everybody building, and all of the tradespeople felt it. I feel like the materials side is pretty much stabilized. The prices are higher on a lot of things than they were, but they seem stable now. You don't see, there's not as much guesswork in it. And the labor, I think the labor rates have climbed pretty significantly over the last couple of years. And, that's something that without, unless there was a full recession and people were really hungry, people don't want to have that go down. So prices have gone up by a lot from 3 years ago. But I feel like those prices are pretty much here to stay. Yeah.
And would you say that compared to a lot of the other communities in Colorado, we're still a very reasonable place to build a new home? I mean, compared to the resort areas, we've got to be way less expensive. And I don't know about Denver. Can you build a cheaper house in Denver because there's more labor market? I don't think I have the experience to answer that, but my gut tells me no. I do have some friends over there that are builders, and they tell me the prices that they're building at per square foot, and it's sometimes double still what we're seeing here. Wow. I have some builder friends in the mountain towns, and that's also nearly double or close to double what we're seeing here, and there's a lot of relativity to it all. Prices are up, but we're still, I think, from what I know of it, in a good place. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think even though for people that have lived here a while, it may not seem that affordable anymore because we've seen the prices go up so much. When you compare it to other places in Colorado, I think we're still pretty affordable. So
yeah.
And I hope that people will be able to incorporate some of those great techniques and green building and energy efficient building into their homes. Selling not so much new construction, but already built homes people ask a lot about solar and say, should I add it? Will it add to the value of my home? And there's a lot of things to consider there. So I think that while we don't have a huge amount of people that come here saying, I'm only going to build this way, when they do, they're looking for a builder like you that has that kind of experience to really put all the elements together, because it can be really tricky, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it, like on the consumer side of building a new home or buying a brand new home, I think there's also an element of what does a client think they're getting that they don't have a context for. And that's a challenge as a consumer, right? You assume all things are equal. Like when you look at 3 houses in a row as a buyer, you can't see what's under the claddings and behind the drywall and, how well was this home built? And are there issues that I can't see? None of that's obvious. And so I think, I hope that builders, and I'm certainly not the only one in this valley. There's a few other guys I know out there building great products and using a lot of the techniques that we're talking about here today. And those builders are very thoughtful about the way they build and whether they're doing everything as well as they can do it. And that's certainly not the case across the board, new homes being built. So I think as a consumer, one thing to just consider is, is your builder trying to elevate their products, or are these kind of a standard product? And, they have to meet code. And so everything kind of falls into that realm, and that there's definitely a long ways to go up from that. Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about the code changing and how far behind we are and playing catch up with the code. Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the year that our energy code was extremely outdated for, well over 10 years, probably beyond that. And
based on the national codes?
Yeah. Typically, jurisdictions will update their code model every other cycle or so. They don't do it every time. It's a lot to change codes constantly, but they do try to make changes. And our building, residential building and commercial building codes had changed, but our energy code hadn't. It had been left behind because nobody wanted to. There was this resistance against the change. And so, we got left behind a little bit, and everyone had a steeper learning curve when it came time to upgrade a little bit.
Before we go, I wanted to mention also that you just did a really great project downtown with the new,
thank you.
Bin 707 restaurant.
That was a lot of fun.
How great is that?
Yeah.
It's beautiful in there. What were some of the challenges you faced with that project?
Man, it was a fun project. Josh and Jody Nierenberg are just awesome to work with. Very visionary. Josh is a great designer, and so I think Josh kind of pulled in, Arc 11 I think they're from Boulder for the primary architectural work, and they did a really great kind of base set of drawings with Josh's vision, and we came in and did all the fabrication designs and kind of pulled it together as contractors. And so I think in the end, and looking back, it was just a pretty cool collaboration between, the Nierenbergs and Arc 11, and then we were able to come in and pull in all those details. So.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Nice job. Well, anything else you want to share with our listeners and viewers?
Oh man, design matters. Design first. Think about, my big thing is I love to have clients, I like in our description of what we do, that design-minded client is really important. The person who wants to take a little bit of time, understand it, know what they're getting, get it right, and that design is this iteration of ideas that gets you to something that you're gonna love it when you're done. And that's something that I've been really proud of, that we've done. Taking the time to do good design with clients and then when they move into the home, they're like, oh man, we got this right. We did it. There might be something they would do different here or there in hindsight, but generally speaking, they're just like, man, this is just right for us.
Well, I really like what you said in some of your website about you build architecturally significant homes. So that's what you really like building.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lack of that, across the Grand Valley. So I appreciate you beautifying things and building some really cool stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If people want to see some photos of things that you've built and remodeled, how do they find some photos and get in touch with you?
Yeah, follow us on Instagram. We're posting constantly on there at RG Cowan Design, and our website is rgcowandesign.com.
Awesome. Well, reach out to Ryan if you've got questions about remodels, new construction. It's just, I love everything that you work on, Ryan. I think it's beautiful, and I appreciate the attention to detail that you put into everything. So,
well, thank you. It's a high compliment.
Well, we look forward to working with you in the future and on all kinds of things. And I always know who to call if I need something done really creatively. So It's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Christi Reese here with Ryan Cowan, and thanks for watching and listening, and we will see you next time on The Full Circle. Bye. Thanks for listening. This is Christi Reese signing out from the Full Circle Podcast.